The thing in the West is everybody's good, right?
What does that mean? Not bad. Biggest smoke. I'll save it for. Hold on.
No,
I'll save it for the show.
well,
I'll
then
save it
like,
for
see,
that show.
like if you look at who they play,
The teams you're hoping they're gonna
they
be.
got a lot of teams that they're winnable games. They got Santa and they got Phoenix. They got Washington, Brooklyn.
They can't beat Brooklyn.
Can't be Brooklyn.
Can Brooklyn? You want to put something on that? That Brooklyn would beat them? Is it in Brooklyn? That's how sure I am.
Brooklyn's lost 5 straight.
They will lose that game against Brooklyn.
The way it is now, LeBron sits.
No, he could be healthy and he doesn't do anything anyway. Pat just
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, let's do this.
How's that Cleveland team doing without?
I'm going to talk about all the Thank you.
4-17, right?
Can't wait to talk about Cleveland. Can't wait to talk about Cleveland.
Oh boy.
Okay, let's go.
Here we go.
Welcome back to On the Block. Lamar Grant, Igor Henriquez, Joe Verfari here. Guys, we have a lot to talk about. First show since the beginning of the season. We had a few topics. What was it that you wanted to start with?
No, we can go through the teams.
Okay, so we'll start with the Raptors. We'll start with the Raptors like we usually do. The Raptors have been one of the teams in the East that actually have lived up to expectations, possibly even surpassed them, sitting at 19-4. And they have Cleveland tonight, which should be a win on their road too. So they should be 20-4, which I don't think anybody really would have predicted before the season started. Coming off a big win against Golden State, it was a little bit closer than people think it should have been without Curry. But like I was saying to a friend earlier today, sometimes when the Warriors come out, they had a tough time with Orlando. They played some teams that have struggled, but when you've won 3 out of 4 of the last years, you can't get up for every game. But knowing that they're on national television and going against possibly a finals matchup, they brought it. Even Kevin Durant hit that tough shot, so you can't really gauge every game as a negative because the Raptors kind of in a lose-lose. If you win the game, it's you should have, and if you lose the game, you lost to a team without one of their best players, right?
There's a win in that scenario that they should have beaten them badly.
Maybe badly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, again, if you look at it, I mean, Durant dropped 51. Clay had a pretty good game as well. I mean, even be in that game, Durant had to go off because again, if you look at the depth, I mean, they had Jerebko was hitting some decent shots. I was at the game. Atmosphere was amazing. Again, they needed 51 from Durant. You're gonna get that, right? It's like one of those situations where the all-star or the superstar player kind of carries the team. And again, he was a tough matchup. He was hitting a lot of training shots. Kawhi did a decent job when he was on him. Like they did their best to not have him really guard him, or at least Golden State tried to get them like switch off a lot of the times. I mean, you saw it in overtime, and like Kawhi had that. This wasn't really a steal per se, but the one where he kind of tipped it off of Durant's leg. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Kawhi did a decent job, and he caused them problems. But all in all, I mean, when a guy's that hot and he's that kind of player, like a top 2 player in the league, what are you going to do, right? 51 points at the end of the day.
Yeah, about that game. Yeah. So, in that case...
And Toronto in general.
Well, the only thing I'm saying is that Draymond is like the engine. He's not the best player. Curry, Durant is the better player, but Curry is what makes that whole team go. So I would call him the engine. And I would say like Draymond's the spark plug. So those 2 guys not there, even though Durant scored 51 and he's, I guess, one of the best players in the league, I guess. I don't like calling him that. I won't. He's better than LeBron, but I won't call him that. But with that being said, like if it was the other way around and they were fully stocked, fully loaded, and we didn't have Kawhi and Lowry playing. Well, Lowry is not even that good to me. Kawhi and
Siakam.
Something like that. They would have absolutely in their home. They would have absolutely obliterated us. So if they did play well for what it was, it doesn't matter that if guys are missing too bad. Mm-hmm. And it was a very to me. I watched almost every game this year. It was the most fun game to me this year.
And the Miami Heat one was a good one too. I don't know if you saw that one. Went off. That was a great game too.
But this was the best game to me. Like I could imagine the atmosphere if you were there. That's the first thing I thought. I'm like, man, I wish I was that game.
Yeah. Well, again, it was a pretty penny.
Yeah.
In terms of them overall, I mean, Kawhi's been as advertised. Like the questions about if he was a system player and so forth. I think
we talked about that at the beginning of the season. Remember I said that?
That was a question, and you can see obviously. Like I actually watching him in person.
You can appreciate it.
You can appreciate it a lot more because man, he's got some handles on him. Like,
he does.
He pulled some moves on. It looks like he's like it doesn't look like it's like smooth, but man, can he handle the ball? So I was impressed. His defense was impressive. Like. It's just night and day from watching what DeMar was and so forth.
I was watching it with my boy, and I was saying, like, man, Kawhi, he can't really, he can dribble, but he can't really dribble. And as I was finishing the sentence, he crossed the daylight out of somebody. It was like, oh my gosh. and it was so like mechanical, but it was nice.
Yeah, it's
so
stiff.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. So
It's
yeah.
And then you look at it like I don't think anybody expected what we're getting out of Pascal. I think that's a big factor. And then Ibaka looks like in this new system where they have him more, I guess playing more at center. He seems more comfortable and he's sort of back to what he was a couple years ago. And
He
again,
started for them as a rookie,
I don't know if that's gonna last, but it gives them some legit options where I'm still not sold on Kyle in terms of the big games because I didn't like what he did against Boston a couple weeks ago when he really got outplayed by Kyrie. But it gives them options where they can spread it around a little bit where even if Kyle struggles in the playoffs, they can still manage to win games without it. When before, if him and DeRozan were in the tank, they were done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about Raptors for the season?
But I think they're all playing good. I'm glad that the Toronto fans aren't going as crazy as I thought they would. Where I have to humble them and tell them like relax. But like even after this game, like we can win it all. I haven't been hearing all that. But they're playing. I like the way they're playing. Siakam is like there's certain players where you can just tell they work. Like all the guys work in the off season, but man, he clearly put in work in the off season. So he's really good, and I just like everything. I like the way the coach is. Larry, one thing I do want to say, if I have to say about the Raptors that scares me, is when Larry was at the beginning of the season, when he was giving one-word interview in his interviews and he was angry. But now he's playing worse as he's getting happier. Like when he was angry, he was playing beautiful, just like not forcing the ball, leading the league in assists, and then as soon as I saw him smile, like in the huddle, after the huddle, I'm like, uh-oh. And that's when I start seeing him falling to the ground, trying to get calls, always complaining. What? Like that. Yeah. I just can't stand that.
I know.
Just go back to being upset, and we have a chance of winning.
Yeah.
Man, even in that Golden State game, he lost his mind a little bit.
As the games get tighter, Kyle
when the defense tightens up, right?
He has problems
right?
with that, yeah. And then he looks for calls. He was trying to get contact on a 3-point shot, trying to look for the foul. They didn't
wasn't there.
He wasted a lot of possessions.
Yeah.
In the Golden State game,
right?
In the Golden State game, he wasted a lot of possessions. Where I was literally calling for him to get taken out of the game. Mm-hmm. Anyone that was around me. I actually had a Golden State Warriors kid like right next to me yelling the entire game. Man, what a headache that was! Like a 6-year-old. Jesus. Anyway, on a different note. But yeah, if Fred didn't have a good game, like DeLon had.
Fred hasn't been great this year.
You know what? He had that. I don't know if he's fully healthy. What's going on? He's had some. Like he had that one game. I think it was the previous game where he was he was like 6 for 6, didn't miss a shot. So he's been up and down. But I think the consistency of you get. Ibaka's been consistent.
Yeah.
Siakam's been consistent, and JV's been reasonable. So they're getting production.
OG's been okay.
Danny Green's been
Danny
pretty
Green
good.
we need to talk about, because I know
good,
that you weren't a fan of him. So I want your opinion now that you're seeing him play.
I gotta call a spade. He's playing wicked. I don't trust it. I don't think it will last, but he's playing.
But that's a 4th or 5th start.
Yeah, he's a shooter.
He's playing very well. Like CJ can't hit a shot, and Green's hitting all the threes, and CJ can't get on the floor. Yeah. I can imagine if CJ was hitting, and we had 2 guys on the wing that can hit a shot. Boy, that would be some things. But Green is playing to me even in the Spurs, I've never liked him.
I always saw that in him. What he's doing now is what I've known him as.
No.
Get 11 or 12, hit 2 threes a game, and play really good defense. Because I know you didn't think he was a good defender.
I thought he was overrated defender. He's a good defender.
He's a good defender. He's not locked down, but he's pretty solid. He's one of their behind Kawhi. You could argue he's their best defender. Him and OG, but I'd rather take.
But I think when you're playing basketball, you're supposed to be able to defend. So I'm not giving him props for being able to stay in front of your guy. I think it's a shame that guys that are lazy and letting guys just walk by them. Green is a good defender, but he's not. Job. They're putting him in the class like Kawhi. Like Kawhi is.
I think Ibaka, when he's on, he's a pretty decent defender as well.
He sucks in the post, but weak side, It's funny because he looks like such a strong guy, but when guys take him in the post.
But again, his blocks are up. He's doing it again. I thought he was done. He's having a pretty good year.
I've been a big critic of him. I never liked him, but I was talking with a buddy today and saying how maybe it was Casey as well who made him go to the outside. Right now, Nick Nurse played him at the center, so we always just say he doesn't get rebounds because he was kind of forced by the coach to go and shoot the threes. And we talked about that for the last 2 years.
I'd like to make sure we're clear about something. I said that he was shooting threes, and you guys said you were okay with it. And I told you guys he doesn't rebound. He's guarded the very first year.
Nothing he can't rebound.
He's shooting has been pretty good.
And I told you guys we can't have a power forward who's shooting 4 threes a game, and then you guys are like, well, if he's hitting 2, no, we need him down low. Yeah. I remember us arguing about that.
We did.
I mean, if you look at the early games,
but it's not like he's a banger in the post.
You look at
of course, but
look at that in the LA game when they played the Lakers. He
didn't miss a shot.
He was pretty phenomenal.
But that was.
I don't want him shooting threes, and we'll pay for it in the play. Well, you guys.
Where was going
for What do you mean? I was
going to say us.
The one thing I didn't see in the Golden State game, again, they were up on Golden State pretty early. is they become a little bit too reliant on giving guys open. Well, they were getting open looks, but they rely a little bit too much on the three ball, and they kind of look like Houston did a little bit in the playoffs last year, and that's kind of why like Golden State kind of sneaked back in the game because in the first half, their OG was hitting them, everybody was hitting everything left and right. Then they became too self-reliant, didn't attack the post, didn't try to get to the foul line, and then Golden State got back in the game. So they have to like have a good abundance of both and mix it up because there's going to be times where you're not going to be able to hit a three to save your life. You got to go try to get something else in the post or something.
I'll just finish up what I think of Toronto. Like I've been pretty impressed so far with the season, but I had high expectations as well. I think I picked them to finish definitely first or second, and I said that I thought that a finals trip was within the realm, like within a realistic. And you still think that's the case? Obviously, with Boston struggling, you think they're going to come back?
No, I think of course they have a chance.
How do you think Boston will finish?
I think they're going to be absolutely fine. They're struggling. I hate the way they're playing, but in playoffs, nobody's going to want to see them.
Of course.
That's fair.
When we get to Philly, boy, we'll talk about them.
But I finished up with Toronto, like I said. Ibaka I've been really impressed with. He's done a good job, and they're staggering him in JV's minutes. Even like we were talking about earlier, even like their 12th man, like Monroe, everybody's playing on their team. OG's been pretty solid. Hasn't taken like a big leap, but he's been pretty solid. Danny Green I've liked a lot. Kawhi, obviously, the thing that there's a lot of uncertainty going into the season is everybody thought coming off the injury, how serious is it? Because we weren't sure if he was just saying it to get out of San Antonio or if it was legitimate. Now, I think he's like 95%. I don't know if he'll ever get to 100, but he seems like he's moving fine.
But he's not playing back-to-backs. I'm pretty sure in December they don't have any back-to-backs from what I can remember in the schedule. So I think he'll get back to where he'll end up playing back-to-backs. But, I mean, they're managing him smartly. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't want to – he hasn't played in, a year and a bit. You want to manage the injury pretty well. But, like, he looks
great.
Good. Like, he's had some games where he hasn't been at his best, but, like, I thought he was great in the Golden State game.
But the thing that I like about him, and you'll appreciate this too, is even when his shot's not falling, he's getting 10 rebounds a game a lot of the time. He's playing good defense, getting steals or blocks, whatever he's doing. He's being a team player, right?
Well,
you didn't see that from them.
That OT game, like, if that was them last year, they lose that game.
Of course. When they went to overtime, I looked at Tino and I said, they suck in overtime. Because forever, they suck in overtime. They don't have a guy to give the ball to.
But you look at it, you know what? Like, Durant, I think, had one bucket in OT. They put him on him the entire time. Yeah. And realistically, that was obviously the smart way to do it. I mean, if Clay's not, again, they forced Jerebko to take about 3 or 4 shots. Again, that's the guy you want to take his shots. You don't want Durant taking that.
Okay, so we're going to move on to let's do the next few teams kind of together, and then we don't really have to talk about too much more. Let's do Milwaukee and Philly. You want to start with Philly?
Yeah, I'll go Philly.
Okay, so Butler got there.
Philly is the real deal. Butler, I guess people were disrespecting Butler. I remember. I don't remember if you said it. Did you say you didn't care that he went there?
I didn't say that.
Okay. There's a lot of people don't think it's that big of a deal that he's there. I think it's a huge deal. I think it's even a bigger deal than Kawhi coming to Toronto. I think when the playoffs come, they're the only team I'm worried about that can beat my Boston team. I'm not worried about Milwaukee. We're going to talk about them in a second, but I think they're almost fool's gold the way I used to think of the Raptors. I think Giannis is absolutely. I think he's amazing. He's not fool's gold. He's the real deal. I don't trust Bledsoe. We're talking about Philly, but Philly, I know everyone says they need a 3-point shooter, and I guess they do.
They traded 2 of them away.
Yeah, but I don't care. This team, as is, without adding anybody, will be terrifying in the playoffs. Absolutely terrifying. So, I like their energy. I like the way that they
mesh.
So hold on. So you're saying that you only Boston? You only fear Philly. You don't think the Raptors got a shot against Boston?
I don't fear them. Like if
they could win, but
if they played like that good game like they did against Golden State and they beat them fair and square, like it'll be like then I would be like, okay, I can accept it, but I'm not worried about them. I would be worried. I'm like Philly time. I got my popcorn. Okay, guys, let's do this. Toronto, I'm expecting them to beat Toronto.
The one thing about their situation is, well, first off, they still have that issue with Markelle Fultz. I don't know what's going to go on with that. He wants out. The kid's obviously got some kind of psychological issues or whatever's going on with him. It's becoming pretty distraction, and becoming like comedy worthy the way the free throw shooting is getting put on social media, and so I don't know what the hell that is. Especially for a number 1 pick to have those kind of issues.
A guard pick, yeah.
I don't know. Like right now, they seem like there's been games where like he's been there and they've struggled and they've lost games they probably should have won. But I mean that happens to a lot of teams. But the thing is, like, to me, it's the same dynamic he had in Minnesota, if not worse. So I'm looking at the situation where maybe he's trying to prove a point that he's not. Remember, he's also in a contract here. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to be known as that enigma, the guy that's disrupts the locker room. And if you look at Towns and Wiggins, and I know Wiggins especially this year has been terrible. The personalities that he has to deal with, Embiid especially, and then Simmons not so much. Eventually, that'll be a problem.
You think so?
I think so.
Absolutely wrong.
I think
I-
so.
see, I
Because
don't
I think,
either.
I think that
Not
realistically, that if things start going a little bit haywire, you'll see that come out at some point.
But the only way that would go haywire is if they start losing games, and I don't see them losing enough. Like I think that they have too much talent, at least top heavy talent, to start losing games to Orlando, Miami, Washington, Charlotte, Indiana.
Yeah, but here's
like,
the thing. So when we discussed when Butler got traded to Minnesota, we all thought it was a great move. They were going to get him
For
over the
Philly.
top. No, I'm talking about when he originally got traded from Chicago
Oh,
to
yeah,
Minnesota.
yeah.
We all thought, he's got talent, he's got Wiggins. This is going to be a good fit. He's going to be able to mentor the young players.
But I want to do
It won't
time
be a
out just for
problem.
1 second, because what happened was when they did do that trade, and I wish that I had the picture of the standings when it happened. Butler missed, I think, the last 6 weeks of the season, right? Because of his knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
Right before he hurt his knee, they were, I believe, in a two-way tie for third place with OKC. They did not win very many games when he went down. So I know that people look at it and they forget that he went down, but when you have Wiggins and Towns
Mm-hmm.
who were struggling, I guess, also with whatever was going on with that whole situation, they passed him the torch, and all of a sudden, oh, okay, where's Jimmy? And he was never there, just because he was injured. So it's okay, we were in third, and then all of a sudden they dropped to, I think they fought to get into 8th place, and then had that one series and got
That's
swept.
fine.
and lost.
My point was more that if you look at, you don't really see Towns and Wiggins as, you don't characterize them as malcontents. Well, Wiggins again at some point maybe a little bit, but Towns is pretty. You don't really see a ton out of Towns in terms of the way he talks. He's a reserved guy. So we all thought that he was going to be able to mentor the young guys, but for whatever reason, they just didn't click. Now you're talking about Towns, for example, is a reserved guy and so forth. Then you have Embiid, who's not a reserved guy whatsoever.
But Embiid's a hard worker,
He is.
and the other
Which
two are
is
not,
why,
I think, right?
But will those personalities clash? That's what I'm thinking.
But the only time when
We'll see. Only time will tell. But
But-
I personally think that might be. A
Well, why
problem.
would you clash if you're successful? Like
but-
Shaq and Kobe,
but-
they clash after
Sure.
the fact, right?
They clash, and they made it. They made it work.
They made it work to win championships.
But again, you also have those situations where we can go back. We'll talk about Golden State eventually. If you look at their situation, they've been winning championships, and as you can see, there's been massive clashes between Durant and Draymond and so forth. So even when you're winning, if there's a problem that comes up, let's say Jimmy doesn't give Embiid the ball or a certain situation or something happens throughout a game, you can see them go at it. That's what I'm talking about. You can
so
tell.
you're saying it might happen?
There's a more probability of it happening based on
Due
the
to
person,
Butler,
because
not based on-
Embiid's a dominant.
He's not
alpha.
gonna back down.
He's not going to back down from Butler, and I think that may cause a problem eventually. We'll
May I
see.
say something?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you why you're completely wrong. If we use the Kobe analogy, which is a perfect analogy, the problem with Kobe and Shaq why they didn't get along is Kobe was a competitive hard worker and Shaq was lazy. He admitted it always. He never trained in the off season, never did nothing.
Okay.
Then in the games you want the ball. But you want the ball to take all these shots, you're not putting in the work. There's a clash there. So eventually they butted heads. Draymond Green, there's a difference between someone who's competitive, like Kobe, like Butler, like Embiid and them, and someone who's competitive but in a negative way, where like Draymond Green, where it's sometimes
You're starting conflict.
Yeah, you're starting conflict, but then they're using the fact that you're passionate as an excuse to cross lines. That's not an excuse. DeMarcus Cousins, my guy, love him, but they want to use he's whatever for the excuse for him to cross lines with his temper. That's not an excuse. The rough rider that Ben Simmons is, that all of them, even the point guard McCollum or whatever, those guys are all riders. It's not going to be a McCollum. What is it?
McConnell.
McConnell.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. It's not gonna be like a Draymond. I can picture Draymond getting trading there, and there'll be issues, but not Jimmy. Jimmy is a competitor. If you go to Wiggins and them, how much did Wiggins get paid? 200 and something.
150.
Yeah.
How much? And then what? So Butler's supposed to be there where Wiggins is getting paid more money than him, and he's there
Putting in the work.
lackadaisical, putting in no work, and then he's saying, "Yo, let's do this," and these guys are acting like, "Okay, well, it's okay." You guys made the playoffs once in how many years, and you guys are joking around. I want to win. And Derrick Rose, who I love, you can even sell when they didn't get along in Chicago. It's the same thing. Derrick Rose had natural talent, but you can tell in his behavior, even the way he disappeared on Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's not the type of guy that's putting in work. He just naturally had talent. So even though he may play basketball and do what he's supposed to do, that's why I can see clashing. Philly is not like that.
They
They're
put in
rivals.
their hard workers.
Yeah, so even if they
That's
don't
what I
get
was-
along, they can ride together. It's not a temper thing where it's like Draymond losing his mind and acting crazy. If Draymond loses, just like Rondo, how he didn't get along, like how Rondo keeps getting traded, because Rondo had that mentality like we won championships in Boston, and he keeps having that attitude, and that's why he keeps getting kicked off. If Draymond ever leaves Golden State, nobody's ever going to get along with
So
him.
hold on a second. So you're telling me that based on what you've seen, and this is Jay's guy out of Embiid.
Who? Oh, me.
Out of Embiid, that he doesn't have a top dog. It's my team mentality. That's how we're talking. That
But-
he'd be fine with Jimmy taking the lead on that team and being the alpha dog on that situation. I cannot see that.
But
I don't think that he's gonna.
Embiid thinks that's his team.
But what does
And
that have to?
I don't know
I'm
about that.
confused what that has to do with. Like people are using that Westbrook Durant thing. That's a myth. Don't listen to the first take in those things. That's not real basketball. As long as you have someone who's riding with you. You see when they're taking the last shot, they need 2 points. Butler stepped back and shot a 3. They were only down by 1. You need 1 bucket. Why don't you go down to Embiid? You remember when Fultz came into the game and after not playing for a while, he hit a shot and all of them were all like rallying against him? I can see that they're a family. I don't even trust the reports about Fultz. I don't listen to all that garbage. I'm watching a team and I'm looking and seeing family. I'm seeing family. So what I'm saying is that if Embiid is getting 30 and 18 and you're winning and you have Butler that's closing and guarding, is Embiid going to go and guard LeBron when they play the Lakers? No. Butler will. So
Or
what's the
Simmons,
issue? Yeah, I guess.
His defense is good.
Not better than Butler. Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Well, again, I think a lot of these guys like to be the top dog. I mean, you saw it with Kyrie.
I agree
don't know.
with. I
Are you
agree
talking about
with.
Cleveland?
No.
I disagree. That's not it.
Okay, hold on. I just want to because
Go for it.
we're gonna move on from the team. But last kind of thing, I understand your point. I just don't think that you can apply it to Philly because with Philly, although Embiid is more alpha than beta, I think he's smart enough to understand that, like you said, he's not going to be guarding the 2s or the 3s or the 1s, and that you can't always just dump the ball down with 10 seconds left in the game and expect to get it posted up. And he's done that for years, and it doesn't always work. So now he's like, okay, Simmons knows that he can't shoot because there was that still image of when everybody was in the paint when he had the ball at the 3-point line. And he's been so humbled because he can't shoot that even him, it's not like, oh, I need the shot on the alpha because he knows he can't hit it. If he could, maybe you'd have some kind of conflict. But because of that Simmons can't shoot, and because of the fact that Embiid is also limited in his skills, just being a big man in general, it doesn't matter what kind of big man you are, he's a big man. It leaves it to default that Butler is their closer, not only because of his skill set, but because he's done it forever. He's one of the most clutch guys in the league.
But wasn't that the same situation in Minnesota based on the deficiencies that Wiggins has? And
But the whole thing, what I'm saying is those two, the reason that Butler had conflict is because if we're doing this podcast, for example, right, and me and you were giving good insight, but Lamar's going to sit here and like not really provide much. Eventually, we're going to be like, Lamar, why don't you like commit to this show, or else what are you doing here? Go home.
Fair enough.
Right? And I think that was the Minnesota thing, where it's like,
Where
it was
the
only
laziness was the problem.
Okay. Butler, and the other two guys were doing nothing. So he's like, guys, like I'm here. What are you coming here for to do this show if it's just me?
And I don't think it's just them. Rose is on the team, and
I know, but those are the guys. Those are like
I know,
the top guys that are getting paid $20 million a season. What I'm saying with Philly is, I know that you're Simmons and you're Butler, whatever it is. You guys are coming here every day, providing hard work, and you guys are putting in something. So it's like, why am I going to get mad at you for when I know you're working?
So do you think Butler being unrestricted is gonna, because he obviously needs to get his because he wants to get paid, that won't be a problem?
During this season?
Yes, because he's unrestricted after this season, right?
Ben
Because
has
he
a
has
rookie contract for 3 more years.
Yeah,
right?
I don't.
So they could pay him for at least.
Well, remember, no, but he's a free agent. He might not want to. Remember, that's the whole situation that he might
So
not want to be.
what's your
in
question?
Philly.
Is he not going to try as hard, or
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is he going to try to
Check out?
get his and not be a team player? And again, so far it's been decent. But I'm telling you, there's a situation that maybe again, there's talks he wants to go to New York.
I think they have the same guideline. It's like
That's the same
for
situation.
Butler to get
It
paid,
could be a 1 year thing.
but even like just like Kawhi.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
for Kawhi and Butler, if they both want to get the most they can get, they need to play well.
Sure.
And when they play well, the team plays well. And I think that kind of.
And just one more thing, just to close, is that I really, anytime I talk to someone, I got to get rid of this nonsense myth of this alpha not getting along stuff. Like Kyrie Irving, he didn't leave. I don't understand why people keep saying that. He clearly didn't like playing with LeBron. It's not my team garbage. The point is that he didn't get to play point guard.
Yeah.
If you watch the Lakers, Lonzo Ball and these other guys are not playing point guard, and they're point guards their whole lives. Kyrie Irving, even though he can shoot, is not going to be on the wing taking 90 shots where everyone's saying, "Oh, he's a shoot first guy." He came to Boston. He wasn't doing that. Of course, when the Boston started sucking, he had to start taking a bunch of shots. But he has no problem distributing and being a proper point guard. So this whole everybody wants to leave. Durant left because he's a loser. He can't. He wanted to go somewhere where it's easy, and he wanted it. That's it. It has nothing to do with alpha thing. He felt he couldn't win with Westbrook, and he went to a team where he's not the alpha there. He's not the number one. Draymond even is calling him these words. They know the deal. He went there where it's easy, and now that they're struggling, they're talking about leaving.
But the team treats him like the number one.
No, they
The organization treats him like the number one.
No, they know that
Curry
is clearly the number one.
If you look at it, I mean, they made this point when that whole argument broke out. You look at the treatment that they gave Draymond and they gave Durant. They suspended Draymond, who had been a warrior for ages, based on the fact that they want to appease Durant and they want to keep Durant.
That was an instigator. I think that was more so instigator than anything.
But again, if you look at an organization, how that got handled, they definitely look at Durant over Draymond every day of the week.
Draymond crossed the line. It has nothing to do with it.
How many times do the guys get into arguments? You don't see them suspended.
No, but he went to. I thought he should have been suspended.
But that was like a tirade
before.
That was like a tirade. He's like a repeat offender.
He's a repeat defender. They're getting
I
tired.
mean, I thought that the way the organization handled it, that's going to be interesting.
So. Even if he did it to Clay, they would have did the same.
Yeah.
You've done this. We've let it go. Now we have Durant, and now you're gonna cost us Durant with the same behavior. Forget it. Yeah. You got to get it punished.
So realistically, they both can't stay there long term then.
I think they can get over. I just know that Durant ran there, stole 2 rings, stole 2 Finals MVP, and then now he's gonna go run. And I have a feeling he would even go play with LeBron in LA. He's a coward. Yeah. So what I'm saying is
his thing on Durant's changed over the last couple.
I never said anything about his skill. I never said anything about his skill. His skill is.
See the difference.
We have this mistake thing.
Let me meditate though. But this is what I get from him. Lamar doesn't like LeBron because he doesn't think that he's a great player or anything that whatever. But he at least will give Durant the props and say that he's skilled. Yeah, you don't like him, but he's skilled.
He's the same as LeBron, but more talented. Same but forget the whole talent part. It's just the whole alpha. Oh, these guys. It's nothing to do with that. It's not this. Oh, he left because he wants his own team garbage. No, because who wants to have their own team and lose for 10 seasons in a row? Nobody. It's just a whole bunch of nonsense being talked. You can't go on national TV who the market basketball player is, and it's like football. You can't go out and say, as a quarterback, my blockers aren't giving me time because you'll get in trouble. You can't, as blockers, you can't say we're suck. He's holding the ball too long. You can't, you can't deflect. So Kyrie Irving isn't going to go out there and say, I don't want to play with LeBron. He can't say that. Even if he feels that way, he can't say that.
I don't want to get into the rap, but how are you going to say that LeBron's got no talent?
We'll get to it.
The man's already almost in the top 5 all-time scoring.
It took him 1,000 more games to do it. Don't start me on that. You want
1,000 more games to do what?
That list that he's in? No, not the 30 points. You're talking all-time scoring list.
The all-time scoring list, sure.
So he's the amount of games it took him to do that. It's almost like you have a 100-meter race and I started at 40. What does it matter?
But how can a guy get on that list without any talent?
No. Well, he can score. He gets to go to free throw line. You can't get touched in the playoffs. You get to do. You go to the finals 10 years in a row because you stack your team. You get to play more games.
Oh my God! Here we go to stack your team. But we're talking about that Cleveland team.
We're gonna get to. We are. I can't wait.
We will.
I'm sitting at the mouth to get to Cleveland.
We're at the halfway point. I want to finish up the East in like a few minutes. What teams did you want to touch on? We have
Cleveland.
Okay, we can go right to last place.
Well, again, let's
go right to last.
Milwaukee's been a surprise. Been a pretty good surprise. They gave him a little bit of pop. I think Greek Freak's been pretty good. Bledsoe's been having a better year, and they're a team that, again, he says is fool's gold. Again, they can pull some problems based on the fact that they are, I like the job that Budenholzer's doing. They've been pretty good. I don't think anybody thought that they were going to do that well off the start. So we should give them some props. If you want to go to Cleveland, we can go to Cleveland.
Okay, hold on. We can do it. So Detroit they're a good team, not going to do much. Indiana, I love them. They can pull off something.
Paul and Debozo for a bit. They messed up a little bit.
Boston, we talk about them. Charlotte, they're again as good as Walker's playing. They don't have enough time to do anything. Orlando surprisingly getting better. They'll do something, but nothing special.
But will they make the playoffs? Will any of these teams like Charlotte
or Orlando make
the playoffs?
We didn't even talk about the Celtics. The Celtics are having some problems.
We talked about that. I said they're stinking.
I want to. You know what? Okay, pick one team. Pick one team you want to talk about, and we'll do Boston as well.
Yeah.
Because
Boston,
I want to touch on Boston.
I gotta say Cleveland.
Okay, so we'll do Cleveland quickly. Let's do just a few minutes on Boston. What I want to talk about Boston, which I've said before, and I kind of predicted this, not as bad. I didn't think that they'd be this bad. And they're still 2 games above 500. But with the talent they have, they should be somewhere around Toronto, Milwaukee, or Philly.
Sure.
Okay.
Top 4.
Now, when the season started, even last year going to the playoffs, which I said last year, I won't talk about too long. Everybody, including I think both you guys, Zane also, everybody had Milwaukee beating Boston in the first round.
Yeah.
Because everybody
was
hurt.
Me?
Maybe not you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I said they were.
But everybody else.
Yeah, because we thought the young kids
because everybody was out, right? Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward was out. Kyrie was out, right? So arguably their 2 best players at that time were both out. And what I said was just that I think they're going to be okay because they have a lot of depth. They won't win the championship, but they play defense, spread out the ball, whatever. They end up going to the East Final. Should have won. Almost did. Lost in Game 7. They couldn't score in the fourth quarter. Could have been the refs. Could have been LeBron. Could have been someone. But that doesn't really matter. The point is, getting back to this season, I just, from playing basketball is the one sport, unlike hockey and everything. I talked to my buddy with this. When you're playing basketball, you can't be delegated like Kyrie, where it's like you're a point guard, but you're not a point guard anymore. You're going to go shoot in the corner. You need your touches, you need your handle, you need everything to touch the ball. And with all these guys, Tatum, Brown to an extent, Hayward, Irving, even the Morris brother, who's one of the most ISO players in the league, you can't share the ball with that Terry Rozier. They have too many guys. They're honestly 1 or 2 injuries away from taking over the league. I think an injury to them will be beneficial because it's one less guy to share the ball with, just like what happened last year.
Sure.
And I think that they're going to have a big time struggle with figuring out, because I honestly don't think, sure, they might end up finishing third, maybe even second. And the playoffs, who knows, it's a different beast. But I just can't see them turning this around. They're 2 games above 500. Maybe they win 50, 55 games, but they should be in the 60s. And I just think that with the sharing of the ball, there's not enough time to correct it with the best coach in the league.
So again, Brad Stevens, again, he's got this thing for Gordon Hayward. They played to use Derek Butler with him when Brad was there at Butler. Again, that guy, obviously that like crazy injury with his leg, we all saw it.
He's not 100%.
He's not 100%. And if you look, the one thing that you look at the playoffs and how they played last year with Rozier and Tatum and Brown stepping up and so forth, Horford, they take a back seat once the other guys come back in, and that was always going to be somewhat of a problem because if you look at Tatum this year, he's nowhere where he was last year. He's definitely taken a step back because again, you have ball dominant players. Kyrie's a ball dominant player. Kyrie needs to play.
Kyrie's ball dominant. Yeah. Gordon's pretty much ball dominant.
Well, Gordon's a max player right now. I think they paid him max money. He should really be coming off the bench, and that's a problem. And I think that's going to be a situation where their contract, how they might be able to get rid of it, because you might be right. He gets injured, maybe they're better off.
Maybe they say, hey, you're not 100%.
Because Brad's a loyal guy. He's given Hayward a lot of opportunities, but Hayward's not at the level that he was at pre-injury. I think we can all say that. Yeah. And it's not giving enough guys. Again, I think Jaylen Brown's having a pretty rough year.
He's been terrible. He's shooting in the 30s.
So, it's not what it was. And are they going to right the ship eventually? Sure. But, again, Tatum's not going to have the ball the way he had in the playoffs because you have ball-dominant guys. That's not going to happen. So, eventually, someone's going to have to. Again, is Kyrie a good – he says he's going to stay because I remember he got on the mic.
But like Lamar said earlier, what are you going to say? I'm going to leave at the end of the season?
True.
That's a different topic. What I want to say, a good point that you made, which made me realize I was trying to think who should come off the bench. And you know who I think is the perfect guy who's worked with Kobe this offseason? Tatum. I think if Tatum comes off the bench, they make him the go-to guy with the second unit, and he can attack second units. I think it gives everybody more of a role that's starting with them, including Hayward and everybody else. And then, it's just like, okay, come off the bench.
But if you looked at last year, if you looked at what happened in the playoffs, you thought he was going to be.
Well, we thought the same about Donovan Mitchell, which we're going to get to later.
Yeah, you thought he was going to be he was going to be the franchise player. That's what it looked like. He looked like he was going to be.
But now teams can game plan against those guys, right? Sure. You're not catching everybody by surprise anymore. Last thought on Boston before we move on to the West.
Okay, I'm just gonna say that I have to disagree with you guys with my squad here because, just my opinion here is they're playing bad. I don't know why anytime when someone has high expectations and people don't meet those expectations, everyone has all these things on what they need to do. They're basketball players. You come off the bench, a lot of these guys, they have contracts maybe coming up, all that kind of stuff. Cleveland, other than Game 6, I feel the refs helped Cleveland in that series. But other than that, they beat them fair and square. I remember on this show, I lost my mind that Rozier shot 1 for 11 from 3, and that Jaylen Brown was shot 1 from 7 from 3, and cost us the whole friggin' game. And I couldn't even sleep that night because of those 2 bumps. Yeah, I couldn't even sleep those 2 bumps. So it's not like, yes, they persevered. Milwaukee, I think you did say whatever, but I remember everyone, and I was one of them, was because Philly finished strong in the way they destroyed Cleveland at the end of the season. Yeah. Exactly, but even I said that they can beat Philly, and they beat them. I know, exactly. So what I'm saying is with this team,